This is Gemara and Taanis Daf Ches. All the learning for this month, the month of Teves, has been generously sponsored as Zeicher Nishmas. As a schos, Rav Leib and Ravakav Zatzal, whose neshama should have an incredible aliyah for the learning of the entire Chabura as we forge forward, as we're into the final home stretch of the Masechta of Taanis. Rav Leib should be eileted in his place like Anid and Shalmayla, higher and higher. As well as Choshel V'Zochaim and Devar Shemir, as the Kiddush and Israel, Shanama Kedar Merchab B'Zavshin, this is what Zavshin Del Shom and Tzvit Liba Zahava. As well as Choshel V'Shem Shal Yus Ben Evedem and Vegachaim B'Zavshem Zim Reitz Zar Bas Kanadi Zavatin Zayach Yisov V'Minzel Leitz Zavatin Shalei Shom Znami V'Shavik V'Shivchan Shmo V'Til Din V'Chan Reizol V'Chayev Asmino Dinayna B'Shin Minas Viv V'Yor V'Chalaser Natel Urav Kashem Tazil V'Chlaster B'Soich Shar Chayli Yisrael. Again, apologies that the last few days the Shiurim were not as we try to say perfect as usual. Thank you for sticking with it. We are in transit, but Baruch Hashem, we are now back. Everything should be back to the old schedule, up early, and as well with both the headshot and the Gemara backing. So we're in the middle of Chazayim Abayz. We're holding 4 lines on the bottom. Meisvei. We're in the middle of a machlekes between Rav and Shmuel. As you see highlighted in front of you, that any time, and we came out particularly that when we said Bereshis, you read with 2, and Hirakia, you read with 1. And the Gemara asked that Bereshis says 5 psukim. How do you read something with 5 psukim with 2 people? And the Gemara said we have machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Rav says you skip, and Shmuel says you split it in half. Rav says you read 3, and then what do you do? I shouldn't say skip, but you read 3, and then you repeat the third, and then you read another 3. That's how you get 5. And Shmuel says, no, basic, you split in the middle. So Meisvei asked the Gemara 4 lines from the bottom, Parshas al Shita Psukim Karinaisa Bishnayim. If you have a 6 pasuk parsha, you read it with 2 people. Shal Chamisha 5 pasuk parsha biyachad with 1 person. Vima Rishon Kair Gimel. Let's see, the first person reads 3. This is a brayso. Hasheni Karishnayim. The second one will read 2. Mi parsha zu. Ve'echel mi parsha acheres. And 1 from the next parsha. And some say Gimel 3 for the next parsha. Why? You never read less than 3 Mishleisha Psukim. So ask the Gemara, what do we see in this brayso? We see in this brayso what happens that we have a 5 pasuk parsha. So the brayso says optimally read it by 1 person. But says the brayso, let's say the first person read 3 already. What do you do now? Said the brayso, we have 2 ways of going about it. Either go 1 pasuk into the next parsha, or go a full 3 psukim into the next parsha. Ask the Gemara on the last line. According to Rav, why don't we just repeat the pasuk? According to Shmuel, why don't we split the pasuk in half? So ask the Gemara that this brayso seemingly is at odds with both the opinion of Rav and Shmuel. Answers the Gemara, Shani Hasam, as you turn over to today's Daf Chav Chesam and Aleph, De'is Le Ravcha. Don't ask me from that case. That's a unique case. That's a case that there was an excess. There was a way to deal with it. That was a case where there was another parsha to go into. Whereas by us, since we can't go into the next parsha, that's where the machlekes Rav and Shmuel plays out. Says the Gemara, Top of Chesam and Aleph, Parsha Gedolei Karnai Sabishnayim B'Shachris Amusa Mincha Karnal PM. Ibayelo. Ask the Gemara a fundamental shayla. What did the Mishnah mean when it said ubim mosaf? Heichi kamar b'shachris ubim mosaf karnai sabis sefer. Did the Mishnah mean that by shachris and mosaf you read from the Sefer Torah b'mincha karnas al peki karnas shema? That's one way of learning the Mishnah. Or idilma achi ketani b'shachris karnas b'sefer or b'masav u'b'mincha karnas al peki karnas shema. A fundamental shayla, says the Gemara, where do you put the comma? Is it shachris and musaf, or is it musaf and mincha? And a tremendous ramification whether you are required to read from the Sefer Torah by musaf or not. Titania, says the Gemara, as we learned in a brayso, Tashma, so the Gemara tries to prove this shayla. Titania, b'shachris u'b'mosaf. Nechlas basic and asif v'karin kedarkish v'karin el shana, and you read the whole year. U'b'mincha yachid karis al peh. So seemingly, it seems. It seems very clear that Shachris and Musaf, you have to go to the shul, you have to read from the Sefer Torah. Amar Rav Yosi, v'chiyachid yachal likros Sefer Torah al peh b'tzibar. What does that mean? It said, u'b'mincha v'yachid reads al peh. What does that mean, says Rav Yosi? Ella, says Rav Yosi. Kula nechlas v'karnas al peh kikarin es shema. But what do we see very clearly? We see very clearly that this is the machlekes in Rav Yosi and the Tanakama. that it's going to come out that according to the Tanakama, Musaf goes together with Shachris, which is the Shaila that we are coming to answer. Says the Gemara further by the two dots, Kol Yoim Sheyish by Halal Ein by Maimid My Hefresh Bein Zelazeh. Ask the Gemara, what's the difference? What's the reason that whenever there was this carbon eitzim, then there's no maimid, but when it's by mincha, but there is a maimid by mincha? What's the reason? Again, the carbon eitzim, there's no maimid by ni'ilah, but there is by mincha. Answers the Gemara, alalu divrei Torah, alalu divrei sefer. The fundamental difference between mincha and ni'ilah, halalu ni'ilah is divrei sefer. It's only derabanan. Whereas when it came to Mincha is a din daraisa. Now, there's many mefarshim over here that deal with the fact, what exactly does the Gemara mean that mincha is a din daraisa? If you look at Rashi points out in the last wide line, Yitzchak, Avinu tikin tfilas mincha, and that's what it means that it's daraisa, whereas Nila is divrei seifrim. But mefarshim explain over here, it doesn't mean it's a din daraisa. Tefillah is a fundamental machlek is daraisa rabbanan, but the Gemara means that it has a source in the Torah, whereas Nila has no source in the Torah. Says the Gemara, continuing about 12 lines down the two dots, that when it came to bring the carbon of the wood, there was 9 different times in the year that they brought these carbonis, this special carbon. Why did the Mishnah have to say the time of the bringing of the wood? Amru, the Chachamim said, Kishalu b'nei HaGayla, when the people came up from Galus to Eretz Yisrael, Lamatu, ate Simbalishka, they didn't find any wood. They didn't have wood for the Mizbeach. And these families got up on their own accord, and they said, we're going to donate. So Nevi'im amongst them said, that later on in history, even if we have wood, these families will always have the eternal schos and merit to donate the wood to the Mizbeach. Shenem avagaros, he palnu al carbon eitim, akanim alavim ba'am. Lahavi lebeis alukenu, to bring to Hashem's house. Avis avazin leitim zumanim at set times. Shana b'shana levar al Mizbeach Hashem alukenu kakos b'teira. So again, because they took the initiative, because they went on their own accord, forever and ever, they received this schos that their family brings the wood on the Mizbeach. Says the Gemara, 2 lines from the white lines. And anyone who's not sure. And then the Mishnah continued with 2 unique families, and we said we'll speak about it in the Gemara, the pestle smugglers and the fig cutters. And now the Gemara is going to explain, what are these koitzik, these fig cutters, and goinvei eli, these pestle smugglers? Amru, say, explains. One time, the guy made a decree, we can't bring any more wood. We're not allowed to bring bikurim. They set up guards on the roads, just like Rav Menavad did. So they shouldn't come up to the regal. That's what Rav Menavad did. So they similarly set up guards. They shouldn't bring up bikurim and wood. So what did the tzaddikim do? They took baskets and they covered over the basket with figs, and they took them and they put a pestle on their shoulder. And when they came next to these guards, where are you going? We're going to make some pressed figs. As we're holding this pestle, we're going to make some pressed figs. And with this and with his pestle that's on our shoulders. Once they passed by the soldiers, they decorated the baskets, they brought it to Yerushalayim. So basically what this family did was they smuggled in the wood, they smuggled in the bikurim when it was necessary, at a time that it wasn't allowed. They took the risk, and they smuggled past the guards, and that's why they received this eternal merit. And says the Gemara, Another similar story, Tana. Heinain b'nei Salmai anutfai. Says this brisa, this is similar to the family of Salmai anutfa. What does that mean? Tana Rabbanan b'nei Salmai anutfa. Merupa machas godru amalkis geri social even made rachu. They should not bring wood for the mizbeach. Beishiva brazos al drachim. They set up guards. Kedar sheshivim Ravina al drachim shleil yisol the regal. Just like Rav Minavat said, the Klaisel should not go up to the regal. Ma'asu yeri cheshiv zedar. What do? Hey, you gizrayim. They took pieces of wood and they made ladders. They put the ladders on their shoulders. They carried the ladders into Yushalayim. Once they passed by the soldiers, where are you going? He goes, let's go to the chicken coop with our ladder. With the ladders on their shoulders, when they passed with the shoulders, Perkon, they dismantled the ladder, and they dismantled it, they brought the wood to Yerushalayim, and for these special people, what does the Torah say? The incredible reward for the tzaddik and the terrible punishment for the rasha. Says the Gemara, continuing all the different families in the Mishnah, the Esrim Ma'av, Boy B'nei Pachas, Moyav, Ben Yehuda, that was one of the families. Tana, we learned in the Brayso, B'nei Pachas, Moyav, Ben Yehuda, hey name, B'nei David, Ben Yehuda. It was really the same family as David, Ben Yehuda, different. Meir, V'yisr, Meir, B'nei Yoav, Ben Surya, different family. Basrimel, B'nei Adam, Ben Yehuda, Tana Rabbanan, B'nei Adam, Ben Yehuda, Ein, B'nei David, Ben Yehuda. Different Rav Yehuda, Rav V'yisr, Meir, B'nei Yoav, Ben Surya. Again, we have Machlekes of Yehuda. And Rav Yosi, previously when Machlekes Rav Yosi and Rameir, exactly which family was which. Says the Gemara, 2 lines from the wide lines, that this Pinei Parosh came back and gave a second time wood. Mani Mas Nisan, who is the opinion of the Mishnah, Lo Rameir, Lo Rav Yehuda, Lo Rav Yosi. It's neither Rameir, nor Rav Yehuda, nor Rav Yosi. Why? Rameir Lisni Shabai, B'nei David Ben Yehuda. Shnia, it should have called them B'nei David Ben Yehuda. Rav Yehuda Lisni Shabai, B'nei David Ben Yehuda. Shnia. It should have also, if it was Rav Yehuda, again, if it's Rav Meir, it should have said B'nei David Ben Yehuda. And if it was Rav Yehuda, it should have said also B'nei David Ben Yehuda. Rav Yosef L'snei Shavai B'nei Yoav Ben Surya. So ask the Gemara, whichever opinion you're going to quote, you run into an issue. Because both of them, the first two, it's a little bit interesting, the repetitiveness of the Gemara, as some of the Farshim over here speak out. But basically, the Gemara is asking that according to Rav Meir, it should have said, it's B'nei David Ben Yehuda. According to Rav Yehuda, it should have said, it's B'nei David Ben Yehuda. And according to Rav Yosi, it should have said, B'nei Yoav Ben Surya. So what's going on? Answers Gemara, Lodim Rav Yosi, you trade tonight, leads Rav Yosi. There were 2 Rav Yosis. One Rav Yosi is like we're saying over here, it was B'nei Parosh, and one was B'nei Yosi Ben Yehuda. Yoav Ben Surya. Says the Gemara, the last wide line, on the first of Teves, there was no Maimid. Why? Rosh Chodesh Teves just passed. Rosh Chodesh Teves is actually the yard site of he who were learning in his chos. Says the Gemara, you know why there's no Maimid? Because on that day there was Hallel, there was Musaf, and there was his Karbonatim. So Amrle Mark Shisha Breder of Chisda Rav Ashi. So Mark Shisha says to Rav Ashi, turning over to Chav Chesem and Beis, Maishna Hallel Didachi Didei. I don't understand. Why is that when it's Hallel? Hallel gets rid of the Maimid. Hallel, when do we say Hallel? After Shachris. And yet, when do we have no Maimid? On Shachris. Or Maishna Musaf, Tlodachidi Day. And yet, on that same day, there's also a Musaf. And yet, from the Mishnah, it sounded like there is a Maimid by Musaf. So I don't understand. If Hallel cancels out the Maimid of Shachris, Musaf should cancel out the Maimid of Musaf. Answers the Gemara. Amli Rav Ashi, Hashta. The lav didei dachi didei like Oshkin. Ask the Gemara, what do you mean? Musaf. Musaf gets rid of mincha, which is not its own. You wanted to get rid of Musaf as well. It can't be. It doesn't even get rid of mincha. So Amar Lei, no. Let me explain to you what I was asking. That's the Gemara's kasha. Says the Gemara, you know what I was asking? That it should only get rid of Musaf. Why does it get rid of mincha? I don't understand. I understand if you tell me it gets rid of Musaf, that's the same time. But why does it get rid of mincha? And on that, Amar Lei, you respond, there is an opinion like you. Maimid demai. Which maimid is there when there is most? If you leave a maimid shachar, so Tanikama nami achi kamer. Tanikama agrees. El maimid de mosaf. Did they nami lo dachi? El de mincha carbon eitzim dachi. El alav dini ilosh mami no. Didei dachi. The lav didei loy dachi. Shma no. And therefore, the Gemara is a brayso. It's his opinion of Rav Yosi, that what do we see very clearly? That the day dachi, that the Musaf gets rid of its own maimid. The lavdi de lo dachi. It does not get rid of its other maimid of mincha. Shema mina. That's the opinion that we just quoted in the Gemara, and everything is good and dandy. But now says the Gemara, 1 second. Where did this whole party start? Because we're discussing Rosh Chodesh Tevis. On Rosh Chodesh Tevis, what do we say? We said there's multiple things coincide. Says the Gemara, 1 second. The same thing should happen on the 1st of Nisan. There's also Halo, Musaf, and Garbanetsim. Amar Rav Zaysemeres, Halila D'Reish Yarcha, Lav D'Araisa. The Halal of Rosh Chodesh is not a D'Araisa. The Halal of Rosh Chodesh Tevis was unique. It was the full Halal. It was Chanukah. That's the reason why it was deraisa. But the halal of Rosh Chodesh is not a deraisa. Therefore, says the Gemara, that's the reason why it doesn't push off the maimid. The yoichram misham of shimon yitzadok. Shwan also yoim mishani yachid gaimer ben is halal 18 days. Even a yachid completes the halal ve'lein. Shwan yimei achag. Shwan is mechanim yom to risha shal pesach yom to risha shal atzeres. Uba goylen and golas as a mechanim is 21 days. Yelain tishim achag. Shwan yimei achag. 9 days of Sukkot, 8 days of Chanukah, 2 days of Sukkot. So says the Gemara very simply, there's a difference between when we say the full Halal, which has the din of a Daraisa, that we just had Chanukah, as when we say half Halal. So that's why the Mishnah did not list the 1st of Nisan, because the 1st of Nisan does not have the same level of Halal. Says the Gemara, a similar story, Rav Ikla Bavel, Rav went to visit Bavel. Chazinu de Kakaria Alila Breish Yarcha. He heard that they were reading Halal and Rosh Chodesh. He thought he should stop them, because you're not supposed to say Halal necessarily on Rosh Chodesh. Came the Chazid come mid like the Lugi. Once he saw them skipping, that it must be their minhag to say half Halal. Tana, we learned in a Brayzi Yachla Yatzchel Mischal Gaimer. And by the way, we all know that we have our sitter. In our sitter, we say Halal on Rosh Chodesh. First of all, I'm sure the Sfardim are aware that they don't say a bracha on Rosh Chodesh. Number 1. Number 2 is that's our takana, and the reason is this is one of the big mekayers our Gemara says, because minhag avosayim, it's a minhag to say halal in Rosh Chodesh, whereas when it came to other times of halal, it was more of a kein daraisa, much higher level. Says the Gemara, and with this we're going to conclude. 5 things occurred to our forefathers on Shavas B'Tammuz, about 20 lines from the bottom of Chalchesem Beis, the 2 dots, the shtabra aluchas minal, not even they broke the luchas, the Tanya, as you learned in a Reisa. The Israel, the 6th of the month, the Aseres Dibros is given to Klal Yisrael. Rav Yesi, Rav Shiva Boy. So we have a classical machlekes. What day was Maimon Har Sinai? Something we spoke about extensively in previous Masechtos. Was Maimon Har Sinai on the 6th or the 7th of Sivan? Says the Gemara, Man Amar B'Shisha was on the 6th, Nitnu, B'Shisha, Nitnu, B'Shiva, Alu Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu went up the next day. Man Amar B'Shiva, Nitnu, B'Shiva, Alu, went up the same day. Moshe, D'chsev, V'Ikra Moshe V'Yom HaShvi. So everyone agrees Moshe goes up to heaven on the 7th day of Sivan. Detail number 1. And of course, Moshe Rabbeinu was in the mountain, was in the clouds for 40 days. Explains the Gemara. So you have 24 more days of Sivan, because Moshe Rabbeinu again goes up on the 7th. So we have 24 more days of Sivan. V'shitzar the Tammuz, and then we have the 16th day of Tammuz. Malu Arba, and that's we get to the 40 days. And V'shivsar b'Tammuz on the 17th. Nachas Asav Darvinu Luchas. He came down, he broke the Luchas. And he broke the Luchas. So says the Gemara, how do we know the Luchas are broken on the 17th? Because when the old Torah was given on the 6th or the 7th, everyone agrees Moshe went up on the 7th, as the Torah says explicitly. Moshe was called on the 7th day. And on 40 days on the 7th of Sivan, and that's what brings you to the 17th of Tammuz. Actually, let's just do one more shtickle. Gemara says, Gemara, Batzal Atamik, Gemara, Hofkoi, the fact that the Talmud was batal on that day, that's an oral tradition in Gemara. Hofkoi, here the city was surrounded by Yudzayin Ave. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? It wasn't on Tez Zayin, it was on Yud Zayin. Excuse me, no, that's not a question. One more time. Says the Gemara, was it really on the 17th? On the 9th of the month. It was the 9th, not the 17th. So it sounds like when was the breach of the walls? On the 9th, not the 17th. The first and second. Beis HaMikdash. Our mission on the second Beis HaMikdash. That was on the 17th. We'll pick it up from here in the next year. Mir Hashem.